morning, James. You are back with a bang. Happy 2023.
I am indeed back with a, yes, with a bang, why not? As opposed to any kind of whimper or otherwise. Well, Happy New Year to you, and thank you for joining us this Tuesday morning. Before we get to the stories that you've picked out, of course, we have a job to do, and that is to go through our front pages, which I have to say, and it kind of spurred my conversation this morning, we are dominated by, yes, Harry and Meghan. So, Harry's shock claim, says the Sun newspaper, I want dad and brother back. And there's a bit of this which makes me think, well, yes, and I'm kind of delighted that you've come to that conclusion, but you seem to be going around it in all the wrong ways. If I was either Prince William or King Charles, I'd be fairly horrified that we've got two bombshell interviews peddling a book, going out there saying, oh, but I want my daddy and my brother back.
I disagree. I so disagree. And I could talk about Harry and Meghan all day long. And I tell you what the fascination is, it's relatable. We all have family disagreements and arguments. And I feel dreadfully sorry for Prince Harry. And I think Charles and William are cruel.
Wow. But you see, I would take the view that Charles and William have had all the same problems they've had some of the same problems that Harry has had. They've had all sorts of headlines written about them and all sorts of things that they've had to deal with. I cannot imagine that living in that gilded cage for all the money, all the palaces, all the cars, all the everything, I'm sure that it brings a huge amount of difficulty with it, and I cannot imagine what it's like to have to deal with that.
I know, but this is very different because when he married Meghan, I think, judging by his Netflix documentary as well, he's touched upon how William's office, Prince William's, the Wales's office, started planting stories. I believe all this. Why would Harry be lying? And it became cruel. And then the reason is people say, well, it's not, if you want your dad and your brother back, you don't go about it by doing interview after interview. The reason is it's got to that. And I've been in this situation, so I really sympathise, is when you've had a family argument, you desperately want that love back. You try. So he has reached out. And they've been cruel and cold and cut him off.
You say that, but I would put the other side and say, if you were really serious about sorting out the relationship with your brother and with your father, you wouldn't do it publicly with a book, you wouldn't do it publicly with these interviews, and you wouldn't do it in this way.
No, he's got to that stage. You don't know. This has been going on 2-3 years. So for 2 or 3 years, he's been trying to reach out. They've blanked him. That's cruel.
Yeah, because every time they have a conversation, it's leaked to the press.
No, that's
he talks about.
The Wales's office leaked a lot of damaging things about Meghan because they were jealous. So what's happened now is they've left. He obviously needs to make some money. People are saying, oh, well, he's making money. He's not making money at the expense of the taxpayers. He's not sponging off the taxpayers.
He's making money. He's making money at the expense of the institution that he continues to trash.
He is outing them. You're saying trash. I say he's exposing toxic traits in the monarchy and that they need to be exposed. And we need to know about that because it's not nice. We pay for them. And there they are being cruel and nasty and planting stories. That's not how a king should be behaving, I think. And he's a dad. Why hasn't he sat them together and said, let's talk about it?
Okay.
No, he's ignored them.
Okay, so Her Majesty the Queen, when she was still with us, said recollections may vary.
Yes.
She had a point, didn't she?
Well, a little bit, because actually one side, their side of the story. Now, this dignified silence, it's not dignified. Again, it's toxic. Because what you do is, well, I'm not going to say something. And I've been in those situations where then I get desperate. Then I have to put subliminal posts on social media saying, please talk to me. And then they start saying, oh, Narinda's talking. And we're going to keep silent. You're not. You've been cruel. You're actually not talking. What the royal family are very good is not talking about their problems. And I feel what Harry's saying is Meghan's opened his eyes. You know what? You guys need to talk about your problems. Everything that's happened in the monarchy.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, that he's talking... Yeah, but some of the problems that he's talking about saying, when he said in that documentary, oh, there were other people who weren't as good as we were and they were being put ahead. That's because that's the institution. You're born into the role. He shouldn't be in that role. Frankly, if he had qualified, if he had to interview for the job, he wouldn't get it.
No, Meghan and Harry were absolutely fantastic for this country. This country have just, you had golden...
They were until they started lobbing bombs into it.
No, Meghan was a woman of colour, and we needed that. The monarchy.
She still is a woman of colour.
And they threw her. They threw her away. Harry did 10 years service. 10 years service. William and Kate are boring, Max. Accept it. Boring. And they were jealous. They were jealous that Meghan and Harry had this appeal, this pull to them. And that's where the jealousy began.
Did you just call me Max?
Max. James Max. Sorry. I did. James Max. Sorry, I said your surname. Sorry. Every time I say your name, I think, Return of the Max. Have you cut me off now?
I just wish that I had a fader for guests. Narinder, let's focus on this, because you clearly love them. I have a real problem that, for example, if Harry had been employed into this job, given some of the things that he's said and done, he would have been fired.
Well, so would Prince Andrew and so would Prince Edward. They're absolutely useless as well. And actually, King Charles, defender of the faith, had an affair while he was married with another married woman. He should have been fired a long time ago.
So what you're saying is get rid of a lot of them.
Well, I actually love the monarchy. I want Prince William to become king, but King Charles was an absolute disgrace. He was an embarrassment to the Queen. She was embarrassed that he got divorced, that he was married.
I mean, much as I listen to all of your lovely banter about this, I take the view that Harry was disappointed about the position and realising that he was going to become less and less relevant as the monarchy continues and people are born into their new roles, and I understand that. But also, I think he and Meghan started to ask too much of the institution and wanted things, and I think that there's two sides to this. I am fairly certain that the way that they behaved behind closed doors was probably not becoming. On the basis that you see how many people, how many staff they got through, you speak to those people, they've got some stories to tell.
No, but I think that, and I'm going to say it, and I know people hate me for saying it, but I think Meghan got married into that family and there was racism. She did experience racism. That cannot be denied. And this, getting through stuff. Harry was very irrelevant before he married Meghan. The minute he married her, they became hugely popular.
How's that racism been proven other than her word?
You know, this is what Caucasian people do. They want it proven. They want it in print. No, why should it be? It's overt. You can't always explain it. You can't explain the feeling.
Sorry, but that's racist in itself.
Well, so be it then, James. So be it. But she did experience racism.
You see, I think playing the race card, in my view, is an utter distraction. I think
it's an utter distraction to say playing the race card. I think that's an utter distraction. It's not playing the race card. It's telling you our experiences. That's like me saying, well, I experienced racism. Oh, you're playing the race card. That's not right, James. That's part of the problem.
If you've experienced racism, then that's absolutely right to expose it. And yeah, but I struggle with some of the stories that have been told because, again...
Why do you struggle with the stories being told?
Because quite a lot of the stories that have been told have been exposed as either exaggeration or very one-sided, and as I'd go as far to say as lies. And this is, and we are seeing one side of an experience. And I'm not saying that Harry and Meghan are entirely wrong, or that I'm against some of the things that I think they've experienced. I think they've had a really difficult time, and I don't underestimate how unpleasant dealing with some of the headlines and some of that stuff must have been, and I get it. But I also think that there are two sides to this, and until or unless Harry and Meghan realise that there are two sides to this, they are never going to reconcile.
And I think Harry does recognise that. That's why he's saying, I want my father and brother back, because he recognises this has got a little bit too far. I know Meghan, look, I'm not her biggest fan. I know there's an element of narcissism there with her as well. But I do blame Harry. He didn't tell her anything. Fancy telling her 5 minutes before, oh, you're going to meet the Queen and you need to curtsy. I mean, he just didn't tell her anything. And I do believe she was
But then how did she not know?
Look, she lives in America. Just because she's not British, just because she wasn't here.
But I don't think she realised, and here we are, and this is probably explained why I'm asking this question this morning. Here we are, it's the Sun front page. We spent the whole so far talking about it. We haven't even got to any of the other front pages, but the Daily Mail goes with the same one. Harry, I'd like my father and brother back. But also they talk about tennis queen Martina is fighting 2 cancers with all she's got. The Daily Express, Harry, I want my father and brother back. The Mirror, however, goes on the NHS. Future of NHS is on a knife edge. We'll talk about that story in a minute. The Daily Telegraph, Prince Harry, I want my father and brother back. Duke claims family are unwilling to reconcile with him and were happy for him and his wife to be seen as villains. To be honest, I continue to take the view that until or unless he stops lobbing bombs in, they're not going to talk to him.